Hello, hello, welcome back to Geometry. We're in Chapter 9. We're grouping together sections 4 and 5, because otherwise I couldn't say sohcahtoa. I'd have to say toa and then sohcah, and that wouldn't be quite as much fun. Well, sohcahtoa hasn't always been this glam. Anyways, trigonometry is the study of triangle measurement. Trigonometry, yeah, that's where the triangle comes from. Okay, so here we have a triangle. We're looking at ratios. A trigonometric ratio is a ratio of lengths of two sides of a right triangle. So here we have a right triangle. The sides are named for the vertex opposite it, or the vertex gives the side opposite it its name. So A, side A would be opposite vertex A, and so forth. B opposite B, and C opposite C. So a trigonometric ratio for the sine is a proportion, is a ratio of the opposite side to the hypotenuse. Opposite side to the hypotenuse. So if I'm looking at angle A, okay, those are the angles that we're looking at are the angles that are not the 90-degree angle. So A, opposite A is this side to the hypotenuse, C. So side A to side C. Remember, C is the longest side, right? So sine B would be opposite side, would be B to hypotenuse. And that's where we get the so in sohcahtoa, S-O-H. Sine is opposite to hypotenuse. Ka, C-A-H. Cosine is adjacent to hypotenuse. So if I have angle A, the adjacent, we're talking about leg. The adjacent leg is B to hypotenuse, right? So we have B to C. If I was looking at angle B over here, the adjacent leg is A to hypotenuse C. So cosine is adjacent to hypotenuse, and then toa, the tangent of this, that's the only one that does not use the hypotenuse, is opposite to adjacent. Opposite to adjacent. So in this case for A, tangent A would be A to C. Opposite, not C. Opposite to adjacent, B. A to B. Alright. Let's use this. We want to express each ratio as a fraction and as a decimal to the nearest hundredth. So we want to find sine P of this angle. Sine, remember sohcahtoa, so, S-O-H, so opposite to hypotenuse. Okay, opposite to hypotenuse, so the opposite here is 15 to hypotenuse is 17. So 15 to 17, that's our ratio, and then if we divide those, we get approximately 0.88. Cosine P, remember sohcah, cosine is adjacent to hypotenuse, so the adjacent side to P is 8, and the hypotenuse is still 17. Divide those, you get 0.47. And then the tangent P is, we do opposite to adjacent, toa, opposite to adjacent, and that is 15 over 8. Divide those, and you get about 1.88. Alright, if we're looking at a special right triangle, the tangent of 30, writing that as a fraction and decimal in a special right triangle. Now in a 30, 60, 90, we could label this as x, and x square root 3 and 2x. I could also say, if I'm doing ratios, I could give this any number I wanted. I could say this side is 2, then that's 2 radical 3, and this is 2 times 2, or 1. 1 radical 3, it doesn't matter, because if you're doing a ratio, those would cancel out anyways. As you see here, setting this up opposite to adjacent, we have x over x radical 3, and those two would cancel out, and then I'd be left with 1 over 1 radical 3, and 1 times radical 3 is just radical 3. So I want to rationalize the denominator, so I'll multiply by a 1 fraction, and that gets me radical 3 over 3. For a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the tangent is always going to be radical 3 over 3. And finally, as a decimal, that comes to be about 0.58. All right, and then the tangent of 60 degrees, again, opposite to adjacent, we flip this around, and that's just going to be radical 3, which is approximately 1.73. Okay, you're measuring the height of a spruce tree. You stand 45 feet from the base of the tree, and you measure the angle of elevation. Here's a term for you to know. Angle of elevation is from where you are. Here's the line of sight. The angle of elevation is how high this goes. That's the angle of elevation. From the ground to the top of the tree to be 59 degrees. Find the height h of the tree to the nearest foot. Okay, so here's the angle we have. We're not dealing with the hypotenuse. Okay, so sohcahtoa, the only one of those that doesn't deal with the hypotenuse is the tangent. So we're going to use toa, all right? So tangent 59 degrees is equal to opposite over adjacent. Opposite is the height over adjacent is 45. Okay, now I can't just divide these. I'm going to have to use this side. So I'm going to have to multiply both sides by 45. Okay, multiply by 45 brings the 45 over here. And then we get tangent 59 degrees times 45 is equal to the height. And we type into our magic calculating device. And that is about 74.9 for the height. And this is in feet. There you go. All right. If we're looking at special right triangles for sine and cosine. Okay. Sine is opposite to hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent to hypotenuse. In a 45, 45, 90, what do you notice about opposite and adjacent sides? That's right. They are the same. So you have 1 over radical 2 both times, which simplified is radical 2 over 2, or approximately 0.7071. If you're looking at the sine and cosine in a 30, 60, 90, the sine and cosine of 30 degrees is, the sine is 1/2, because it's 1 to 2. The cosine is radical 3 to 2. Now, notice I used 1 here on this side because the ratios, again, we can always simplify those down. Okay, if this was 2, that would still simplify down to 1/2. Okay, and that's 0.5 for the sine and 0.866 for the cosine. You're skiing on a mountain with an altitude of 1,200 feet, the angle of depression. All right, another term for you here, angle of depression. From where you are, the angle going down. So angle of elevation was going up, angle of depression is going down. The angle of depression is 21 degrees. Find the distance x you ski down the mountain to the nearest foot. So we're skiing down here. The altitude is 1,200 feet. We want to know how long is this. All right, we know the opposite side and we know the hypotenuse. Okay, so opposite hypotenuse, that's what we need. So we're going to do sine 21 degrees is equal to, opposite is 1,200 over x. Now to solve this, I'm going to move x over here. So then I get sine 21 times x is equal to 1,200. So now I need to divide by sine 21 degrees. And that cancels out. And now I type that in my calculator. And this comes out to be approximately 3,348 feet. 48.5, so yeah, 0.5, either 49 or 0.5. There we go. And that's all for today, folks. Lots of fun for everyone. Check in again next time for another fun lesson.